Hello everyone, how are you doing today? Welcome to this short video where I will have a conversation about something that many of my friends have been talking to me about. That is about how to navigate the re-entry into life after the COVID lockdowns. Now, before we talk about the re-entry, let's have a little chat about the real taxonomy of what actually happened in a COVID lockdown. It happened at such a rapid pace and such unprecedented way that not many of us have had an opportunity to actually even sit back and look at what happened. So, most of us had plans in life, plans for our career, plans for our relationships, plans to do so many things. And then suddenly we were confronted with an unprecedented situation that we could not literally leave our homes. Our work environment changed overnight. Things that we used to do to nurture ourselves, ranging from taking a walk in the park to going out for a drink with our friends, or even the social interaction at workplace, or the lovely family gathering that we used to have for a certain amount of time, and for some people a very long time, we lost access to all of it. And I want you to take a moment to recognize that was a disruption into the way how we live our life, what we know about ourselves, and what we know about our life at large. Now, when that disruption came, it was unique in the sense it came also with a lot of fear and uncertainty. There was a phase in COVID, I still remember, when people didn't know how bad this was going to be. We didn't have enough data about whether people could recover from it or not, and so on and so forth. So we had a phase in our life where we were very stressed and very fearful of it. And then as the fear did go down, the vaccinations came out and so on and so forth, the expectations from us also changed. That meant we have to get past our fear and have to go on and become productive again and produce our best work in our workplace and homeschool our kids, and also take on more and more household responsibilities without the support system we would ordinarily have. So there are many things that have happened in this, and I want to spend the first half of my video, a few minutes, to talk about 2 or 3 specific emotions or experiences, or the philosopher in me would like to call ontological interventions that have taken place. First and foremost, COVID-19 experience at large has been really a shared trauma, and I really want to destigmatize it. I know there's a lot of conversation now, we have to move forward and so on and so forth. It's hard to move forward without recognizing what actually happened. So the classic definition of trauma is when something happens, something is too much, too soon, too fast, right? It comes at a pace that we don't have the ability to even make peace with it, to metabolize it out of our system, and so on and so forth. So that is one thing that COVID-19 did to us. Many of us had it in different shades. I have friends that are parents, and their greatest challenge was how to provide a nurturing environment for their kids while homeschooling them, and at the same time to create some semblance of continuity and good quality of life while also juggling their career. Now, when you are typically going through a high stress period like that, the survival instinct in us takes over. We are pushed to the boundaries of our resilience, and we cope. We find new tools, new ways of being, which is what we all did, right? Now, when we are beginning to slowly open up and some degree of normalcy is returning, we are beginning to feel life is good again, or we are moving forward. In that phase, one of the things we will need to come to terms with it is how we have been shaped, how we have been changed, and what are the conclusions and decisions we have made in our life that are arising from the shared trauma that we have just lived. Now, COVID also brought to us many positive things in life. It gave us a chance to look back at what really matters, for us to be grateful for our relationships, to be grateful for our health, find more value in spending time with our loved ones, explore a greater sense of balance between what we do at work and what we do in life, and so on and so forth. And really the realization that life is fragile. So probably taking a step back from the rat race and finding more wholesome experience of life is important too. Now, whether it was the trauma which led us to decisions and constraints that we experience, or whether it's the inspiration of wanting to have a new life, one thing is common to both of them. We are a new version of ourselves, distinctly different from what we were before we began. So one of the things that I want to say to you is we do need to recognize the ways in which we have changed, or the ways in which that we want to continue to change. As the opening up takes place, the past normal will not come back. It will be a new normal. Now, the new normal can bring with itself many beautiful things, and we can find a new gusto of life to engage with the new normal, making more meaning, more empowering context out of all the learnings and all the challenges, all the struggles and the beautiful experiences we've had during the COVID lockdown, right? So let us now spend a few minutes talking about how might we approach re-entry into life. Step number 1, acknowledge it is a re-entry, which means you have to bring a little bit more curiosity and compassion and self-love to this process. The person that is walking out into the world now, into the workplace now, is a different person. Maybe you want different things. Maybe you want a different pace of life. Maybe you are still coming to terms with all the challenges that you had in life. Maybe you just want a different kind of engagement in workplace, different kind of boundary, different kind of meaning or purpose from what you do than what you did before. So it's good to take a moment to carve out an intentional piece of time in your life. It could be sometime on a weekend, it could be one evening, it could be a series of contemplations that you do with yourself when you're walking in the park or when you're working out or you're just having some quiet time for yourself. But please take some moments to recognize, how have you changed in life? How has your vision for life changed? How have your relationships changed? Then the second step of that process is now beginning to inquire into what kind of a life do I now want to have? What are the type of choices that I now want to make? What are the things that I've recognized I don't want anymore in my life and I'm willing to let go? What does that imply for my career, for my family, for my life at large? These two processes seem similar, but they are distinct. Acknowledging the what is so, the ways in which I have changed, is as important as acknowledging what am I now looking forward to. Once you've accomplished the first two steps of contemplation, it will give you an insight into what's the new you feels like, sounds like, desires and craves and looks forward to as you go into the world. Then the third step is taking baby steps. And that is the one that's going to be a little bit harder. And I'm experiencing that myself. I was in Portugal on a retreat and writing a book when COVID lockdown happened. And in my life, I travel a lot, delivering workshops and speaking at events and all of that stuff. And suddenly I couldn't travel. I was locked in and I really enjoyed the break for 1 week. 1 week later, I got stir crazy about, oh my God, I don't know how to live that life. And then obviously, I went through my own processes around it. When the re-entry came, the first reaction in my life was, wow, now I'm re-entering, now I want to make up for all the lost time. And then I took a mindful pause and realized, at what pace do I want to re-enter? Am I setting up too hard expectations of overcompensating for what I lost or not? So the third step really for you is to inquire what might the baby steps you take as you integrate back into the social fabric, and do that with compassion, because remember, everyone has had a unique experience of COVID. So you will have colleagues that have lost loved ones, and for them the life will never be the same again, and they are still healing from that experience. You will have colleagues that have decided that they want a completely different type of life. Then you may have people in your social network that don't believe COVID is over yet, right? And I don't even know if it's really over. But the fact is that for them, the fear and anxiety has not yet gone down, and they still want to be very, very safe. Now imagine the tension in a family gathering on Thanksgiving this year, where there are a bunch of vaccinated people that believe COVID is over, and there are some people who still believe they are very much at risk and then don't want close interaction. And then you have kids that we are now beginning to realize are more at risk of COVID than we imagined before. So that stress and tension of that dynamic in a family gathering in Thanksgiving, trying to find a plan and a way to organize the family reunion that works for everybody. Similarly, it will also happen at workplace, right? So take baby steps with some curiosity and some compassion about different points of view and different lived experiences that people have had. Now, step 4, when you step in, know when you're beginning to get overwhelmed. Make sure that as you are reintegrating into life and you're bringing a new gusto into it and you're engaging into the new normal, notice when it's becoming too much. The changes are coming, or the moving forward is happening at a pace that you're not yet ready to accept, or when you are, and also the dynamic in a relationship, in a couplehood is also like that. One partner may want to go out and start engaging with the world a lot more faster than somebody else, right? So just recognizing that is very, very important. Now, the 5th step then is find a new inspiration. You had to spend a lot of time with yourself, right? And while I do say you had a lot of time to spend yourself, you may actually not have had private time because there's so much has been going on. Now, when you go forward into life, I always say there's this mantra: today is the first day of the rest of your life. You can choose all over again what you want this to be about. Now that you have insights about what you've experienced and the lessons and all of that, you have experience of what you now knew wish. Now you've understood that you're taking your baby steps, walking in and bringing compassion to people as they are engaging with you. Figure out now, take some time to find what inspires me most about my life. How can I now make meaning of all the experiences I've had that will inspire me to unfold an even more beautiful life? Not to suppress the memory, not to wish away what happened, but how can that be growth? Now, this is where I want to introduce an idea to you. We talk a lot about PTSD, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder. Some of us have experienced that in COVID, right? Where after trauma, we have experienced some stress. Now, the part that is not always as much known is that there is an equal number of people or larger number of people that experience post-traumatic growth. And I want you to consider that it's possible and very likely that you're a candidate who now has the ability and the readiness to experience a spurt of growth because you're so much in tune with a new version of yourself that you can bring a new vision to fruition of that post-traumatic growth, right? And you don't really need a trauma for growth, but as a manner of speaking, right? When you come out, you can also leverage all this experience to even collectively decide what you want the vision for your life to be. So get in touch with your partner, get in touch as a family together and say, hey, this happened. Create a safe space for people to acknowledge how it impacted them. And in that safe space, speculate. What kind of a family do we want to be as we move forward? Maybe the dinner ritual that we had of all of us eating together because we were locked in and we were not eating out. Maybe that's something that we want to carry forward into. Some things that we missed and we realized that were very important to our life that we took for granted, which has now changed. How might we slowly bring that back? So bring some creativity, some curiosity into what kind of a life we want to have. Think of the re-entry as a blank canvas. See, prior to COVID, many of us were living a life of a lot of passion and commitment and so on and so forth. But there's a very thin line of difference between living a life that we feel comfortable with it and living a life of tranquilized obviousness. Tranquilized obviousness, what Martin Heidegger's word actually is about, we just do what's obvious to us, we get used to it. This restart has actually given us a hard reset, Alt, Control, Delete, a hard reset. Now the life is a blank canvas. You can make choices about where you want to live, what you want to do as work, what kind of engagement you want to have with your kids, what kind of things that you want to populate your couple relationship with, and so on and so forth, and create as a creative act. That act of creation will allow for you to normalize and to a certain degree acknowledge and let go of some of the stressful experiences you've had in life and refocus you or decenter you towards a new vision of the future that you now have. Now, this sounds easier than it is to be done. However, my point to you is that it may be an iterative process. Do not approach it like a business meeting, right? In one meeting, you have to come to a conclusion, but make it like a sense of fun, enjoy, and explore what might be the new insight for your life you have found, and what might be the new vision of life that you can now share. Use that as an act to create a shared view of the future that you can look forward to. And I sincerely hope that you enjoyed that experience. So, summing it up, acknowledge what happened, be compassionate that everybody has experienced it differently, be patient with your own re-entry into the workplace, include your loved ones into making a decision about your life, and create this shared sacred space of envisioning the next step forward. And I wish you the very best for it. And by the way, practicing some meditation and mindfulness will always allow you to experience that state of inner peace and inspiration where your best ideas and vision for your life can come forward. And I invite you to do that as well. All the best.